So, I'm a 39-year-old guy, married to my 36-year-old wife for the past 15 years, and we have a 13-year-old son. My family's pretty big. There's my mom, who's 58, my dad, who's 62, my 30-year-old sister, and my youngest brother, who's 22. Last year, something unexpected happened. I found my wife crying in our bedroom. When I asked her what was wrong, she told me she was pregnant. I was super happy and told her it was amazing news. But then, she seemed really upset and just walked out of the room, which I thought was pretty strange. Around that same time, I noticed she was on her phone a lot more than usual. With the whole COVID situation going on, it was just me taking care of her and doing all the housework because we couldn't have anyone else come over to help. Eventually, she had our baby girl, who's absolutely adorable and looks just like her mom. Now, fast forward to recently, my younger brother started coming over a lot, pretty much every day. I didn't think much of it at first because, well, he's my little brother. But then, when we all went to stay with my parents for a couple of weeks, I started noticing something off. My wife was acting really close to my brother, more than what seemed normal. As for me, I've got a lot on my plate. I'm the main guy making money for both our family and my parents. My dad has a few shops that I look after, and I work as an investment banker. On top of that, we have several houses that we rent out. So, yeah, I'm pretty busy. But whenever I was home, I couldn't help but notice that my wife and my brother were spending a lot of time together. This was weird to me, especially since she used to be closer to my sister than anyone else. So, aside from all the weird vibes I was getting from my wife and brother, I started noticing that my sister was hanging around me more than usual. It kind of felt like she was trying to tell me something important, but whenever I asked her about it, she'd just brush it off and say everything was cool. Nothing to worry about, according to her. Then, out of the blue, my dad wants to go fishing with just me, one-on-one. I'm like, sure, why not? So we're out there just chilling and fishing, and he starts sharing these old fishing tales and memories of hanging out with his own dad at the same spot. It was nice, you know? He also starts laying on the compliments, telling me what a great son I am and how proud he is of me. But I could tell there was something more he wanted to say. Eventually, he gets to the part where he's pretty bummed about my younger brother. Turns out, my brother hasn't really got much going on in terms of goals. He's not working, smokes a lot, and drinks more than he should. My dad was never super close to him, but my mom always had a soft spot for my brother. As we're wrapping up, my dad suddenly says he's got to head off somewhere. He hands me the fishing gear and this little piece of paper, telling me to read it after he's gone. So there I am, opening this paper, and boom, my whole world just flips. It's a DNA test result, and it hits me like a ton of bricks. I'm not the biological father of my daughter. I couldn't just sit with that. I rushed back to our family house where everyone was already gathered. It was like walking into a storm. I confronted my wife and brother, and they both admitted to everything, apologizing and saying it was all a big mistake. Turns out, this had been going on for more than a year, and they had feelings for each other. My wife tried to console me, saying she regrets what happened and that she'll always be sorry. She kept telling me I was the perfect husband and dad. But man, hearing all that, it just didn't make anything better. So here's the lowdown. I'm this guy who's always on the grind, right? Work keeps me buzzing around so much that I'm barely home. But don't get it twisted, I wasn't totally MIA. I made sure we had those epic vacation getaways twice a year, and those cute date nights once or twice a month. And you know, we kept things pretty lively in the romance department regularly. I was always that dude checking in, asking, "Hey, you good?" Hoping she'd open up if something was bugging her. Then, out of nowhere, my sister comes into the picture and she's like, "I knew something was off, but just couldn't say it." Imagine how that felt, like a punch to the gut. But wait, it gets crazier. My mom decides to join this whole mess, baby in tow, trying to school me on acceptance. She's all about, let's just move on and be happy, because my kid's gotten attached to this new baby, which, surprise, is my brother and wife's love child. She's pushing for forgiveness, saying I'm the big bro and I gotta set the example. My jaw hit the floor. My own family playing me like that? So I just let it all out. Told my wife straight up, I'm not about to play these games competing for your attention. Divorce? Yeah, it's on the table now. And my brother, the guy I've always had his back, turns out he's the one putting the knife in mine. I walked out, left them to stew in the mess they made. My phone's been blowing up nonstop since I bounced. My dad rings me up, trying to be all supportive on the down low, cause he's caught between me and my mom. He's carrying this guilt, saying he's been a lousy dad, and drops the bomb that my mom knew about the affair all along but kept mum. I was like, forget it, if this is how it's gonna be, then maybe it's better if I'm just cut off from this so-called family after everything's settled with the divorce. Haven't even gotten around to telling her side of the family about this circus. Meanwhile, My almost ex is on my phone like there's no tomorrow, calling nonstop, texting up a storm. And through all this, my son, he's missing me like crazy. It's like my whole world's flipped upside down, inside out, and I'm just trying to figure out which way is up. So here's the deal. Since everything went sideways, my brother, yeah, he hasn't even bothered to reach out or anything. Not a peep from him. But my sister, she actually stepped up and apologized. She was like, I know I should have been there for you, but I just couldn't muster up the courage. You've always been the superhero in my eyes, and I'm super proud to call you my brother. That hit me, you know? But to be honest, I haven't had it in me to reply back to her, or anyone else for that matter. Now get this. My mom decides to ring me up out of the blue. She starts going on about how everyone screws up now and then, and throws in this whole spiel about how we could all magically turn back into a happy family if I just decided to forgive and forget. And then she lays this bomb on me, saying that my kids need a dad around, and if I can't be that guy, guess who's waiting in the wings? My brother. Yeah, as if that's supposed to make things any better. She even tried to intimidate me by saying that if she sided against me in court, I could kiss my chances of keeping my kids goodbye. That just made my blood boil, so I hit the block button on her faster than you can say betrayal. Haven't talked to any of them since then. Now diving into this whole divorce mess, it's going to cost an arm and a leg, but at this point I'm like, bring it on. I've kept all this under wraps from pretty much everyone else, and man, it's been rough. Sleeping? Forget about it. Eating? What's that? I'm just going through the motions, feeling like I've lost all the stuff that made life worth living. My family, my partner, my kids, even my sense of pride. It's all just vanished into thin air. This past week has been like a nightmare I can't wake up from, leaving me wondering what the heck I'm supposed to do next. It's like, without all that, what's even the point, you know? Edit. So I had a chat with a lawyer about the whole divorce thing. The deal is, I've got to start the filing process, like, now. The lawyer mentioned that I'm going to have to cough up some cash for spousal support, which is basically money to help out my soon-to-be ex-wife and our daughter. Yeah, and even though it turns out she's not biologically mine, I still love her heaps. But here's the kicker. Trying to get the main custody for her is going to be tough because of the whole situation with her being my daughter on paper, but not by DNA. And yeah, this whole divorce circus isn't going to be quick or cheap. Looks like I'm staring down the barrel of shelling out about $900 a month for them. And then, when it comes to splitting things up, it seems like I might end up with shared custody of my son. That's like 50-50 time with him. Plus, I'll have to divide up half of whatever assets we've got. Oh, and about that DNA test I mentioned, my bad. I meant it was a paternity test involving my daughter and my brother. And yeah, the results are in 99% chance that my brother's the dad. I mean, can you believe it? He was only 7 years old when me and my wife first got together. Talk about a messed up situation. Update. This is a small update to my situation. I was kind of holding on to this thin thread of hope that maybe, just maybe, things would start to look a little less grim as time went on. But man, was I wrong. It's like the universe looked at my situation and said, nah, let's crank up the drama a bit more. For those who haven't been keeping up with my soap opera, you might want to scroll back to my earlier posts to get the full scoop. Long story short, after discovering the whole mess, I bailed from our place, got my financial ducks in a row, chatted up some legal eagles, and got the ball rolling on divorcing myself from this whole nightmare. Fast forward to this past Friday, and boom, the divorce papers land in my hands. Then, out of nowhere, my wife shows up on my doorstep. We end up having this deep convo where she's pulling the "let's think about our son" card and trying to apologize for the whole mess she caused. But here's the thing. My mind's made up. I'm done. So I hand her the divorce papers. And get this, she tries to switch gears and seduce me, as if that's going to make me forget everything and call off the divorce. Like, seriously? I was having none of that and told her to hit the road. But wait, there's more. My sister, who's usually off living her best life in the Netherlands, decided to come back for what was supposed to be a chill vacation. Well, that plan went out the window real quick thanks to this whole circus. She didn't hold back, laying into both my wife and mom before cutting her trip short and heading back home. We ended up having a heart-to-heart over the phone after she left. She was pretty torn up about being stuck in the middle of this whole fiasco. Apparently my mom had been on her case, begging her not to spill the beans to me, worried sick about how I'd take the news. And it turns out, my little brother was part of the reason my mom kept things hush-hush. That convo with my sister shed some light on things, but it didn't exactly make me feel any better about the mess I'm in. And yeah, I've seen those comments floating around, people thinking my life sounds too wild to be true. Honestly, I wish it was all just a bad dream. But nope, it's all happening. And it feels like I'm watching my world crumble piece by piece. Everything I've ever cared about seems to be slipping through my fingers. On the bright side, if there is one, I did manage to snatch some quality time with my son recently. We hit up this gaming zone that's all the rage around here. For a few hours, it was like a temporary escape from the chaos, just me and him, diving into some virtual adventures. So I had this real talk with my brother, right? He hits me with the news that our mom's been having a super tough time, basically in tears every day. And then there's the whole deal with my wife. Well, ex-wife, I guess. She's just floating in this sea of confusion, totally unsure about what her next move should be. She's stuck in a hard place, and it's like she can't find her way out. But wait, there's more. Turns out a big chunk of the mess we're in is because my younger bro just isn't pulling his weight. The guy's more interested in getting high and drowning in booze than facing up to any real responsibilities. My sister and I, we've had it up to here. We're both like, enough's enough, and decide to wash our hands off the whole family drama. We're even stepping away from any inheritance drama because, seriously, who needs that kind of headache? Now, here's where things get next level. I'm seriously thinking about cutting the cord completely with the fam. I'm toying with the idea of just packing up and starting fresh in a new country. My sister, bless her, she's been a rock through all of this, even offering to help me get set up if I make the leap to the Netherlands. And the more I think about it, the more it feels like that's where I'm headed. Fast forward a bit, and it's been a year since I started the whole divorce process. Let me tell you, it's been anything but easy. The days drag on forever, and every time I let my mind wander back to the mess, it just knocks the wind right out of me. I've been so stressed, I've lost count of how many times I've been sick. And my health? Yeah, it's not doing great, with my blood pressure and sugar levels all over the place. Then out of nowhere, I get this call from my dad. He's got some seriously bad news. My mom had a stroke, and it was bad. She collapsed right in the middle of lunch, and now she's lying in a hospital bed with her condition looking pretty grim. The docs aren't too hopeful, telling us to keep her in our prayers. In the midst of this chaos, my ex-wife's been stepping up to manage the hospital stuff. My little bro shows his face for a few hours here and there, but then disappears. My kids and my dad are all there, trying to navigate through this storm together. Dad's pretty much bracing for the worst, asking me to come visit. I had a heart-to-heart with my sister about the whole situation, and she's just as torn as I am. Part of me is thinking about going to see my mom, but then there's this huge part of me that's just, I don't know, hesitant. It's a mess, man. Trying to figure out what to do next is like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. Here's the deal. At the end of the day, the woman who's my mom is still my mom. But, and it's a big but, she totally decided to turn her back on me. It's as if she looked at all the ways she could have supported me, shrugged, and then just walked the other way to stand with my wife. What really grinds my gears isn't the fact that my wife ended up with my brother. I mean, yeah, that stings like you wouldn't believe, but it's the backstabbing from my own flesh and blood that really hits hard. The whole crew knew what was up, and not a single soul thought to clue me in. My mom, she really took the cake by siding with my brother and basically hinting that I'd be out on my own if I kicked up a fuss about it. Now, plot twist. My mom's in the hospital and suddenly she wants to see me. To be brutally honest, I'm a mess over it. My head's in this dark place where I'm thinking about just calling it quits on life. I've tried spilling my guts to therapists, hoping for some magic words of wisdom, but it feels like they're just there to nod and take my cash without offering any real help. To add more spice to this drama, my relatives have been doing the hospital visits shuffle. And as word gets out about my wife's little escapade, it's like watching dominoes fall. My favorite uncle, who I always thought had a level head, absolutely loses it. He unleashes this verbal hurricane on her and my brother, right in the middle of the hospital, no less. It was so bad that my teenager had to step in and play the peacekeeper, which actually worked, believe it or not. So, here I am, stuck in the middle of this total mess. I've been bouncing thoughts off my buddies, trying to get some perspective. They're all pretty much singing the same tune. Wrap up the divorce, pack up my life, and maybe hit the reset button in a new country. Start over, find someone new, and try to piece together something that looks like happiness. It's a lot to think about, and I'm just trying to take it one day at a time. So, here's where I'm at. I'm kind of floating in this weird space where making any sort of plans feels like trying to catch smoke with my bare hands. It's just not happening. I had this sit down with my lawyer, to try and figure out what my next moves might be. He lays it out for me, saying, if my mom never got around to writing a will, technically I could still snag my slice of the inheritance pie. But that's if I don't throw in the towel on it, or if she doesn't decide to cut me out of the picture entirely. As of now, nothing like that's gone down. But here's the kicker. I'm at this point where the whole inheritance thing, the cash, sticking with my family, it just doesn't mean a thing to me anymore. The only thing on my mind, the only thing I really care about is making sure my son is okay. I'm desperate to just grab him and bolt from this nightmare of a family situation, find a spot where we can just breathe easy and feel safe. Now, diving into the whole paternity battle and trying to secure a solid future for my son seems like it's shaping up to be an even bigger ordeal than the divorce. And let me tell you, that's saying something. Apparently, the whole affair situation doesn't really tip the scales much legally in a lot of places. And since my wife's been the one at home with our kid, it's kind of putting me in a tight spot. But I've stumbled upon a bit of a game plan. If I decide to ditch my claim to any inheritance, it might actually swing things in my favor a bit, maybe even dodge the whole spousal support bullet. But that's a big if, and depends on us finding some common ground. Plus, I've got this option to file a complaint against my brother for wrecking my marriage, and with my kid still being a minor, slapping a restraining order on both my wife and brother might just work, especially since the whole drug and alcohol vibe doesn't fly well where I'm from. So yeah, there's a glimmer of hope peeking through this storm cloud. But man, my mom's health taking a nosedive has really thrown me for a loop. It's wild how just a few weeks can flip your world upside down, dragging you to what feels like rock bottom. The only thing keeping me anchored through this whole mess is my son. He's like this beacon of light guiding me through the darkest night. The one reason I know I've got to keep pushing through all this chaos. Update 2. So, diving straight into the deep end, my mom's condition was way more serious than anyone expected. Despite all the bad blood, I couldn't just turn my back on her. It was one of those moments where you gotta put the past behind and show up, you know? So I did. I went to the hospital, and man, seeing her like that, all fragile and hooked up to machines, it did something to me. It was a gut punch, reminding me that underneath all the mess, there's still a family connection that's hard to just snip away. Feeling like I needed to navigate this delicate situation, I had a chat with Taylor. I tried to explain the whole dress code thing. We're talking black tuxedos, very James Bond. And maybe, just maybe, I got a bit too intense. I ended up saying some stuff I'm not proud of, like telling him to man up, and hinting that people might laugh at his usual style. Taylor, being the champ he is, just laughed it off at first, making a joke about showing up in a white dress. But after our talk, he decided to RSVP with a no to the wedding. He's been all cool about it, assuring me there are no hard feelings, but I can't help feeling like I dropped the ball. Taylor's been my ride or die for years, and even though he's known to march to the beat of his own drum, I value our friendship like crazy. Now, my family's blowing up our group chat, wondering why Taylor's bowing out of the wedding, and our circle of friends has this weird tension brewing ever since he turned down the invite. So here I am, wondering if I was too harsh, too wrapped up in wedding planning to remember what's really important. Did I mess up big time? Am I the bad guy in this whole scenario? And here's where it gets even messier. My wife, or should I say soon-to-be ex-wife, was at the hospital playing the dutiful daughter-in-law. It was surreal, watching her navigate the space as if nothing happened. Our encounters were like walking through a minefield, both of us tiptoeing around the giant elephant in the room. In the midst of this, my brother, the one who's been MIA except for his brief cameos at the hospital, finally decides to have a heart-to-heart. It was awkward, to say the least. He's spilling his guts, apologizing for the chaos he caused, saying how he's lost without his big bro's guidance. Part of me wanted to just write him off, but another part, maybe the part that remembered all the good times before everything went south, couldn't just shut the door on him. Amidst all this, my sister has been my rock. She's been handling the logistics, dealing with our parents, and making sure I don't lose my mind. She's even started talking about setting up some family therapy sessions, saying it might help patch things up, or at least get us to a place where we can be in the same room without it turning into World War III. The legal battle has been another beast entirely. My lawyer's been on speed dial, and we've been strategizing like we're plotting a military coup. Divorce, custody, inheritance, you name it, we're juggling it. The silver lining? We might have found a loophole that could swing the custody battle in my favor, given the whole mess with my brother and wife. It's a long shot, but hey, at this point, I'll take what I can get. Now, here's the kicker. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, they did. My son, bless his heart, has been taking all this like a champ, but it's clear it's taking a toll on him. He's been acting out at school, getting into fights, and his grades have taken a nosedive. So, on top of everything else, I'm trying to be super dad, helping him navigate through this storm without losing himself in the process. And then, there's the whole situation with my wife, or ex, to be more precise. She's been sending mixed signals, 1 minute pleading for another chance, the next acting like we're sworn enemies. It's a roller coaster I wish I could get off of. But for the sake of our kids, I've been trying to maintain some semblance of civility. So, What's the game plan moving forward? Honestly, it's about taking it one day at a time. My main focus is on securing a stable environment for my son, making sure he knows he's not in this alone. The divorce is still on track, and while it's going to be a bumpy ride, I'm bracing for impact. As for the family dynamics, it's like trying to navigate a minefield blindfolded. There's a lot of hurt, a lot of betrayal, but also, somewhere deep down, a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, we can salvage something from this wreckage. It's not going to be easy, and it's definitely not going to be quick, but I'm starting to think that maybe, just maybe, there's a light at the end of this very dark tunnel. In the meantime, I've been trying to focus on the positives, the moments of clarity, the small victories, and the lessons learned from this whole ordeal. It's been a reminder of what really matters in life, and surprisingly, it's brought me closer to some family members, while others, well, let's just say, it's made me realize who I can really count on. So there you have it, the latest update in the ongoing saga of my life. It's been a journey filled with twists and turns, ups and downs, but through it all, I'm learning, growing, and most importantly, surviving. Here's to hoping the next chapter is a little less dramatic, but hey, who am I kidding? With my luck, I'll probably have enough material for a best-selling novel by the time this is all over.